Tonight we had our first Alpine City Government class, Government 101 in City Council Chambers. We're going to have more courses, so we'll have a 201 and so forth. Gio Calderon, our city secretary, is the person who put the slideshow together. And then together we presented it along with some help from our city manager, Megan Antrim. So these are some of the topics that we covered. I'm not going to read all those to you. The PowerPoint will also be on the city website so that you can go back and look at the things that we went over. We started with a brief history of Texas. It was a republic from 1836 to 1845. It was annexed by the United States in 1845. And then the official transfer of power from a republic to a state as part of the United States occurred in February 1846. So that took a little bit of time. Okay, going back just a little bit here. Incorporation of cities was only allowed by special state legislative acts until 1858. So what incorporation means is the formation of a city. So the creation of the cities used to be a special act of the legislature until after 1856. The longest incorporated city, or the first one that was incorporated in Texas, was in 1837, and that was Nacogdoches. Before that, once again, the special acts of the legislature provided the powers granted to the cities that were incorporated by the state until 1858. In 1912, voters adopted the Home Rule Amendment to the Texas Constitution, allowing cities that had over 5,000 to incorporate or become cities with their own rules. Incorporation then is passed during an election by registered voters in the area, and during incorporation, a city charter is adopted, delineating the rules adopted by the incorporation. Now, this is not to say that you can't have a city of 200 people or 2,000 people. You can, but they fall under general law cities. So an unincorporated area would be an area that is not a city. So parts of the county that do not fall within the city boundaries. So it's not governed by the city. Examples in our region would be Fort Davis and Marathon. They are unincorporated. They are not cities. The county is the main governing body of an unincorporated area. So the county rules all that. And then other governmental entities or taxing authorities may operate and provide limited services, such as water districts, hospital districts, emergency service districts. And residents of an unincorporated area may choose to come together and follow a process of incorporation that allows them to establish a city, or in other words, a municipality. So the residents of an unincorporated area that are not part of a city can come together and follow the process of incorporation that establishes a city. Or another word for city is municipality. And there are some other words that we will see, such as town of, village of. All are similar terms which mean the same thing. It's a city. It's a municipality. So the procedure for incorporating a city is determined by the laws of each state, but it follows a general course. The residents seeking to form the city will have to negotiate or submit for review their proposed boundaries and petition the county that they are located in to the procedure set forth by state laws. An election then is held to determine whether the voters will approve that area becoming incorporated or becoming a city. So once the city is incorporated, it's basically an organization. It is established and it's legally recognized as a municipal corporation. They can levy taxes, sue, and be sued. The benefits of formally incorporating include greater autonomy through local government and zoning boards, the ability to raise revenue by taxation, and providing services such as trash pickup and police. Going to a brief history of Alpine, used to be named Murphyville, and it was founded in 1882 during the construction of the railroad by families of Mexican-American workers who pitched tents along Alpine Creek. So we are a railroad town. That's why we were formed. And then the families were among the first permanent settlers of what was to become Alpine, Texas. In 1883, it was registered by Thomas O. Murphy, and he named the town after himself. So we were called the town of Murphyville. But then, in an election held in 1888, citizens voted to change the name to Alpine, and in that election, 60 residents voted for and 11 voted against. Then an election was held on February 7th, 1910, to incorporate the city of Alpine. 100 votes were cast to incorporate the city, 69 were against, and the measure passed, therefore, and the incorporation began. Then on May 1st, 1993, an election was held to consider the adoption of a home rule charter. The charter was adopted with 548 qualified voters voting yes and 254 voting no. All right, knowledge check. Take just a moment. Do you know the answer? The answer is false. A municipal corporation, a city, is a legal entity that can levy taxes, sue, and be sued. An unincorporated area must incorporate in order to have these privileges under law. Question number 2. Answer is false. These benefits are provided by incorporated cities and not the unincorporated areas. Knowledge check number 3. Answer is true. In order for an unincorporated area to become incorporated, the petition has to be filed with the county. Once it's filed, an election is held to determine if the residents want to approve it. And once approved, the city is established and is a legal entity that can levy taxes, sue, and be sued. So, types of government. Texas has more than 1,200 incorporated cities. Each of them is either a home rule city or a general law city. General law cities are usually the smaller ones, less than 5,000. And general law cities don't have charters. Home rule cities have adopted a home rule charter for their local self-governance. A home rule charter is passed by voters of a municipality in an election. Like the residents of Alpine passed the charter in 1993. Alpine is a home rule city. Our our city website is absolutely incredible. A lot of work has gone into this website, and we have everything that you could possibly want to find there. You can go back and look at budgets from 2013 all the way up to last year. You could see tax rates. You could go to the charter. You can read the charter, and it doesn't really take very long to read through the charter if you're interested. Now, my advice when you go to the city website is if you go to the bottom left corner, there will be a search bar. Type in city charter, and it will take you to our city charter, and you can look at it. So a home rule city can take any actions which are not prohibited by state or federal laws and the Constitution of the U.S. and Texas. Cities that have a population of over 5,000 citizens can make the decision to be home rule, which we did in 1993. Okay, so every city in Texas operates under one of these two forms. You have the mayor council, which most of the administrative and appointive powers are concentrated in the hands of a full-time mayor who also presides over the meetings of the city council. Or you can have a council manager. Voters elect a city council, which in turn hires the city manager to administer the day-to-day affairs. That is what Alpine has. Your city council is part-time. Your city council is the one that will hire the city manager and or fire the city manager, and the same thing with the city secretary. The council for the city of Alpine is basically an unpaid position. Council members receive just a little over $100 each month to help offset any expenses that they may have in taking care of business for the city. So among the approximately 385 home rule cities in Texas, the vast majority are council manager. The council, you can think of them as the legislative body. The council passes rules and ordinances and policies and procedures. Ordinances are the equivalent of a law in the city. And then it's the city manager who is directed to make sure that these things get carried out. And they're the ones that oversee all of the staff. So Alpine has the council manager, and under this plan, the mayor and council have no administrative duties. So if you see a water leak, you would call City Hall so they can direct you to the right department. It's not the council members that take care of the water leak. Same thing with a sewer leak or gas leak or anything such as that. So the city manager is the one who's responsible for directing the workforce and making sure all the programs are going in accordance to the ordinances that the city council has passed. So what kind of services does the city provide? This is the reason for government, is because we can come together and we can form a government that can do things that we cannot do individually, such as have police protection, gas utilities, streets, sidewalk, signage, water utilities, animal control, and here are some of the other services that a city provides, specifically Alpine. Okay, moving on. Services the city does not provide. So vital statistics, birth and death certificate, property records, all of that's held with the county at the county clerk's office. Marriage, property appraisals, that's through the Brewster County Central Appraisal District. So when we all received our property values back in May, it was the Brewster County Appraisal District that provided what they feel our properties are worth. And at that point, if you didn't agree, then you filed for protest. And then maintenance of the main highways. Those are maintained by TxDOT. The city's not allowed to touch them. In Alpine, the TxDOT highways are Highway 118 and also Highway 90 through town, Avenue E, Holland, and Loop Road. So those belong to TxDOT for them to maintain. The county also does tax assessment, and they collect the taxes, and then they distributed them to the different taxing entities based on their tax rate, such as the Alpine Independent School District or the hospital board or the county or the city. Cemetery management in Alpine is owned and managed by private associations. And then utility services outside of the city limits are not provided. In certain cases, we do, from long ago, have certain businesses or individuals that were grandfathered in. And then general services outside the city limit, the city does not provide. So where do we get the money to provide all these things, to take care of our parks, to have signs, to pave streets, to repair the wastewater treatment plant? Where does this money come from? Well, through taxes, such as property taxes, and then also sales taxes. There are franchise fees. So these are levied on non-municipality owned utilities like telecommunications, AT&T, Verizon, BBT, electric, gas, water. These are all franchises, and the fees from them, the city can collect a percentage of, if not the entire percent. In addition, many city services are financed in whole or in part by user fees and charges. Also, we get some money from various federal and state grants and allocation programs. We have a part-time grant writer who is always looking for money for the city of Alpine. The thing to keep in mind about grants is a lot of them are matching. So the Water Development Board may have some money to give to us, but then we have to match that amount, and it varies. Maybe it's 10% or 25%. Or even 50%. So it's important to know what the match is. We've been working on the budget for a while. It's a long process and we're nearing the end. And it's where the governing body, the council, is going to determine the standard of living. So we don't just provide the services, we also have to think about our standard of living in Alpine. What kind of city do we want to live in? Do we want swimming pools? Do we want nice parks? What is going to be our standard of living here? And with that, we keep in mind what do the citizens want and need. You may remember back last fall and spreading into January, we had several, I think it was 6 town hall meetings where residents came in and they received sticky notes and they wrote down what they felt the city should focus on. And then they posted them around the room on large sticky notes, sticky note pads, basically. The things that the residents, we had 770 something responses. The number one item was water and wastewater. That's the number one thing the residents are asking us to make sure we take care of. Number 2 is employees, so that we can attract and keep qualified employees. And then number 3 are the streets and the roads. So that is what the citizens told us they wanted with this budget cycle, and that's what council is focusing on. Then we also have to keep in mind what are taxpayers willing to pay and what services can they expect to receive in return. So the governing body makes important decisions about the operations and priorities of the city, and we have to work carefully with our money. All of us, every single one of us pays taxes. A lot of us pay property taxes. And so we have this pool of money, our pool of money, and we want to spend it wisely. So the budget policies for the city of Alpine will guide the development of the budget and help manage financial pressures and address growing demands upon city resources while preserving long-term fiscal stability. So we want to make sure that we're not just fiscally stable for this year, but for next year and the year after that and the year after that. We have to think long range. So the purpose is to help the decision makers, council, make informed choices. And the budget policy, you can also find this on the City of Alpine website. Just about everything you want is there on the City of Alpine website. And you might also remember we have a City of Alpine YouTube channel that's very beneficial. The budget policy, if you go to that, go to the city homepage down in the bottom left, the search bar, just put budget policy and it's going to be a slideshow. And of course, you can contact the city secretary if you want to receive a copy if desired. All right, here we go. True or false? Answer is false. We have a council manager form of government where voters elect the city council and then the city council hires the city manager to administer the city's day-to-day affairs. So your council is a legislative body that makes the resolutions, ordinances, the laws, policies, and procedures. Here's number 5. Answer is true. Most Texas cities have this very same structure, the council manager form of government. Now, a lot of your larger cities have the other form of government where most of the power is in the hands of one person, the mayor. Okay, true or false? So if you need some kind of copy, say, of a marriage certificate, where do you go? This one's false. Don't come to the city. You go to Brewster County, and they provide the services for property records, vital statistics, and marriage. So who's in charge of those? City of Alpine? Answer's false. It's TxDOT. So the maintenance is state funded, and the services are provided by the state, the city of Alpine. Okay, please excuse my dog. All 3 of them are a little bit antsy tonight, and so we may hear them barking here periodically. All right, so this is the triangle of public service in the city government. The city council makes the policy. The city manager has to put that policy into action. And then the city secretary is the process. So your city council, part-time legislative body, consists of 5 members and the mayor. The city council members are elected through ward elections. The city council is nonpartisan. There's no time for partisan politics because we have to focus on our city, the city of Alpine, and that's not partisan. And it's for 2-year terms. So council member terms are staggered so that we can measure continuity, so that we can maintain a measure of continuity. And then each council member is elected by voters of the ward. The mayor is at large, all qualified voters of the city. Elections for Ward 1, 3, and 5 will take place in odd number years. So that was this year. Elections for Ward 2, 4, and the mayor take place in even number years, which will be next year. And the city council sets the policy, approves the budget, sets the tax rate, determines the size of the payroll and the extent of the cost of municipal services. The council is the final authority on all the many policy decisions. Continuing on with city council, citizens look to the city council to preserve and promote their health, safety, and welfare. We enact the laws, the ordinances, and resolutions, the policies, provide leadership in addressing issues to be responsive to citizens' concerns. And then the city council is going to appoint 4 charter members: the city manager, the city secretary, the city attorney, and the municipal judge. The city council also appoints members to represent them on city boards, commissions, and committees, such as our Parks Board, our Zoning and Planning Board, our Building Standards Board. We have various boards that, like the Hot Tax Board, also that citizens sit on to help guide the city council. City manager, also known as the chief executive officer. I think most people know what a chief executive officer is when you hear that title. And so that's basically what the city manager is. They perform all the administrative, technical, professional work in directing and supervising the administration of the city government. They provide executive leadership. They are determined by the city council and in compliance with the city charter and state statutes. They're responsible for planning, directing, managing, reviewing all activities, services, including coordinating with outside agencies. They ensure the fiscal integrity of the municipal organization, represent the city's interests, responsible and complex advice, administrative support to the mayor and the city council. They manage and supervise all departments, agencies, and offices, and all employees. They plan and organize workload, staff assignments. They train, they evaluate, leadership and direction, gathers, interprets, and prepares data for studies, reports, and recommendations, and for the city council meetings. They coordinate development activities with other departments and agencies as needed. So our city manager is a very, very busy person. They have a lot to do. The city secretary is also known as the chief governance officer. They undergo training to help them in parliamentary procedure. They would be the final ruling for city council if there's something that's a little tricky that we want to make sure we follow proper procedure. By the way, the city, according to the charter, follows, for the most case, Robert's Rules of Order. But we don't have to follow them exactly. And that is written in the ordinance that they don't have to be followed exactly. And that if they are not followed exactly, that does not negate what the council has done. And you can see that by going to the city website. So the position of the city secretary, municipal clerk, is the oldest in recorded history, and it dates back to about 5000 BC. So it's pretty incredible. It's always one of the first offices that is established because they keep the official records of the government. It's a statutory position in that each city in Texas is required by law to have a city secretary who is a department head who is appointed by and reports to the council. And the mission is to support, facilitate, and strengthen the City of Alpine's governmental process by improving public access to municipal records and enhancing transparency. Serves as a link between the citizens and the city, and also as the historian for the city by protecting and preserving official city records. And we do have some history, such as the history of the mayor in the city of Alpine, dating back to our first mayor, is on the website. They also provide and prepare city council information, including the packets. You may see the binders in some of our videos, which have background information and things for us to look at to help guide us in making decisions. The city secretary has to put all those together, and not just for the city council, but for all the different boards also. So they prepare council packets, and then our city council member meetings are typically held on the first and third Tuesday of each month. And so the city secretary is responsible for posting notification of that at least 72 hours in advance, which you can find in the newspaper, the Avalanche, which is our newspaper of record, also on the city website, also on the door of City Hall, and in addition, not just the newspaper, but the radio. So the city secretary, chief governance officer, ensures also elections. They're in charge of elections, and that they are conducted in accordance with the state election code, the city charter, and city ordinances. As the record management officer, they're also the official custodian of all records. They're in charge of public information requests. They're responsible for public relations, all official communications of the city, publications, and maintenance of the city website. They hold and maintain also the seal of the city, and they affix that to all appropriate documents. They authenticate by signatures and seal official documents of the city. And they ensure that the city-related legislation is passed, followed, and interpreted correctly, and is responsible for the legislative process of the city. So when the council, your legislative body, passes an ordinance, then the city secretary oversees that it is administered correctly. City attorney. Okay, the city attorney is appointed by the city council and must be licensed to practice law in Texas. That's in our city charter and ordinance. So the attorney, or as we have at this time, we have a extremely knowledgeable law firm that serves as our city attorney. They service many municipalities across the state of Texas. They're all licensed to practice law in the state of Texas, and their knowledge is outstanding. Their rate is also less than what we were paying for our previous city attorney. So they're the legal advisor to council, to all offices and departments, to all officers and employees of the city in matters relating to official duties. The city attorney represents the city in all legal proceedings, performs all services incident to their position as may be required by statute, the city charter, city ordinance, or as directed by city council. So the city attorneys do not represent individual council members. Their client is the city, so the municipality. They do not provide legal services to the public. They represent the city in all matters. And the city attorney may be the de facto prosecutor in the municipal court or appoint a prosecutor to serve. The city judge is part of the municipal court, and it's established by the city charter, and it has jurisdiction within just the city limits. So they will be trial of misdemeanor offenses with all powers and duties granted by the laws of the state of Texas, specifically misdemeanor offenses class C. The judge of the municipal court is nominated by the mayor and then approved by the city council for a term of 2 years that run concurrently with the term of the office of the mayor. And once again, it's class C misdemeanors, minor things such as traffic violations, violations of city ordinances, public health and safety violations. These are all municipal court, high weeds, things like that. All right, next true or false. Here you go. Answer is false. Part-time legislative body consisting of 5 members and a mayor. In larger cities, the council may be full-time and they may be compensated by a competitive salary. But in many smaller cities, the mayor and city council serves as volunteers with a stipend of less than $2,000 per year. So that would fit Alpine. All right. True or false? Answer is true. Okay, although the city attorney is paid from public funds, her position is to represent the city attorney does not provide legal advice to residents. Any request to speak with the city attorney must be routed through the mayor, city manager, city secretary, or your council member. Answer is false. Class C misdemeanors, traffic citations, city ordinance violations, health and safety. So minor things. All right. I'm glad that you stuck with me through this. If you have any questions, if you would like to see our sources, reach out to our city secretary, Jeffrey Calderon. Here is his email address. You can also find this on the city website. And then my email address that you can also find on the city website. And you can try calling at this number, option 1, to reach him directly. All right, I can't wait to see you guys for City Government 201. Until next time.